Uh, all right, we live. We haven't been around in a while, but Big Kev, PK Valor here. We're inside the square circle. You just guys can't see the ring and the ropes and everything. They're invisible, like John Cena. You can't see him, even though he hates not being called that anymore. He don't like that anymore. Um, I wanted to ask you, man. We brought it up last night. We were supposed to do this last night, but storms have been in here in Tennessee. So what'd you think of the what Bret Hart said about AEW?
Um, for the most part, with a lot of them, I got to agree. I will say, as an action-based sequence, and by action-based, I mean actual wrestling compared to like cutting promos, I will give that to AEW. Is at least with a couple of live shows that I've been to, a match, ding, 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 okay, everybody out. 10 seconds later, next one, here's the entrance music for the start of the next match. There was no 20-minute, Cody Cena style promo to open the show. They saved all that shit for the end with a 45-minute John Moxley promo where I just wanted to get the fuck out of the building at that point. But yeah, aside from that, I got to agree with Bret in this case. It's a bunch of people pretending to be wrestlers that are just doing stupid shit. And it's getting pretty bad when even guys that were original ECW members are starting to take a step back, like Rob Van Dam. It's like the shit with John Moxley with the spiked bat. What purpose does that serve? Something goes wrong, you land wrong, you are now hospitalized. You swing that wrong, you're hospitalized. That's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And that's utterly ridiculous for that spot.
You know what's interesting is when I see like Facebook, TikTok, other social media, the one thing I don't like about the younger wrestling fans, and I don't know if you agree with me on this one, but they're always like, if they're pro WWE, they hate everything else. If they're pro AEW, they hate everything else. Me and you, we just love professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And
some of it is that way, but then there's also a lot of the older guys that feel that way too, because there's some that say screw WWE and AEW and just want to try to sit down and watch NWA. I don't get that in my specific area, so I don't know what that product looks like nowadays. And I have multiple streaming services, but I don't get TNA. I don't get Impact Wrestling. So I don't know what that looks like. All I know is they continue to do collaborations with WWE. And I'm willing to bet by the end of 2025, maybe 2026 at the latest, that TNA is owned by TKO.
I actually, I think NWA, last time I checked, they had a YouTube page and they do some of their shows on there. I don't know if they still do or not.
Doesn't MLW and Ring of Honor do that too?
Yep.
See, and I know MLW, I think, catches a lot of flack. But from what I've gathered, because that's one that I don't get in this area either, because they do have a weekly television show. It's supposed to be really good. I know that's where Jacob Fought 2 came from. And I can't think of too many other towns. I think MJF did a stint there too, if I remember correct. But
for example, Ricky Starks just won the North American NXT North American title.
No, it's Ricky Saints now.
Yeah, Saints now. And he won, beating Sean Spears, and then he got hit by Ethan Page. Do you think Tony Khan dropped the ball about letting these guys go?
Spears has been in and out of WWE a couple of times.
Yeah.
So that one, I don't feel that Tony really fumbled as much. Because as much as I do kind of like, because I do like that he brought the AEW gimmick back to WWE.
Yeah.
Instead of going back to the Aries 10, perfect 10 shit.
Oh yeah, the title. Yeah.
They're kind of letting Spears do his own thing now a little bit more. Ethan Page, I never really was super high on for AEW, but I did like Starks, now Saints. So I think Tony kind of, because as from what I've seen though with Ethan Page, I mean, he became, what is it, all ego Ethan Page or whatever, all ego. And WWE seems like, they picked up and they capitalized on the what would have just kind of been a mid-card status that Ethan Page really seemed to be. Starks, it seems like Tony really dropped the ball because he stopped caring. And that's Tony, not Ricky, stopped caring.
Right.
I feel like it's almost kind of a non-violent way of how Punk was dealt with. Like, just sweep the problem under the rug, let it go away, and then just, you know what? I don't want to be here. Let me the fuck go.
And kudos to WWE for trolling AEW with the whole Drew McIntyre with the glass and everything as CM Punk walks by, and it was a nice little.
Since you brought that part up, I actually think that the better trolling thing, and I know that AEW can't stop putting WWE in their mouth too, but I think that probably was the moment that's for the promo at the start with Cena and Cody that kind of stole it and kind of got me reinvested a little bit into what's going on when Cena said he makes money for billionaires and all Cody does is steal money from them. And it was one of those like, damn, like there's a good way to, this isn't go home heat. Like they obviously people that are smart to the business know that these guys talk about shit beforehand.
Right.
But when you start bringing stuff that's that close to home, like almost like getting personal, like with the Charlotte and Paige thing with the brother back in the day, like what was it, 2010, 2014, 2015,
Yeah.
when she brought up Reed. The only person that didn't know about it was Rick, and he was hot, and Charlotte just played it off like she was pissed, but knew all along what was going on. I think that is what helps, sell tickets and get, seats and asses. Not that they're going to have a hard time selling out WrestleMania, but I wish they would lower the prices so that,
Yeah, I can tell you this
normal
much.
People could afford this shit. You don't have to, remortgage your house to buy a ticket.
And then plus they have this thing where they have a thing where you can win. You can win like a thing up in the front, up in the what do you call this? Those little booths that's press boxes.
Yeah,
you can have suites inside the stadium and pay $10,000 to watch WrestleMania in a suite with Hulk Hogan and
I'll pass.
And Undertaker. And I'm just like, guys, come on, man. That's
Undertaker. Politics shit aside, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not left. I'm not right. I am but the unfortunate problem is you have to be one or the other. It seems you can't be true center because each one of them looks at you fucking differently. If you try to be center, the far left thinks you're far right, and the far right thinks you're far left. And
yep.
No, motherfuckers, I see good and bad on both sides. I don't like any of it. Revamp the whole thing. But I could put politics, as long as we're not talking politics, I could sit up there, and talk wrestling for an entire show and probably forget that WrestleMania is going on to have, a 3-4 hour conversation with The Undertaker. And just pick his brain. I don't have much time left to, try to do things in the industry with the injuries I have had and just my age. I'd take every fucking spare second that man would give me. and I would worship every second of it.
Well, the reason why I brought up the whole Tony Khan thing is I'm seeing now Rusev had just signed back with WWE.
I kind of figured that was going to happen, though, too. That one, I don't really think Tony dropped the ball. No. Unfortunately, I think that's because WWE they made him hit his ceiling. They started out great with having, the Bulgarian Brute that just dominated, put everybody in that camel clutch. And then he started wrestling Cena at the show with Cena. He started with Wrestlemania, and it was a steady climb, and then the bottom gave out, just straight drop, gradual mountain climb, and just here's the edge, fall, plummet. And then he got hurt, came back. They started to kind of rebuild stuff with Aiden English and the whole Rusev Day started getting over. And then they let that shit fall flat on its face. So
that was a Vince thing. Apparently, Vince didn't like Rusev Day, and I'm like,
Vince is also the same guy that doesn't really care much, just like Jim Cornette. This is one of the things that I'll disagree with him on. Women's wrestling. Some women sometimes put on better matches than the guys lately. That being said, Monday Night Raw's main event certainly was not one of the better matches.
No.
That match was filled with so many botches that I ended up fast-forwarding to the end.
That definitely wasn't better than a couple weeks ago when she beat Rhea.
Yeah. Rhea and Io can have a really good match, but I don't know if it's just because people were expecting too much for their main event Monday night or what.
Honestly, the one thing when I look at a WrestleMania, I want to be invested. This whole thing with Cody and Cena, now I'm invested.
Yeah, thankfully they had, 2.5, just a little under 2 weeks, or a little over 2 weeks, before the show. But aside from that, really, the only thing that anybody was really kind of invested in was the whole triple threat, CM Punk, Seth, and Roman. And even that one was kind of trying to, where does this piece in here? Where does this piece in here? And then when they did the contract and Punk dropped it, this isn't the favor. All right, now it's like, now you can kind of be a little bit more invested because, well, then what's the favor? WrestleMania main event wasn't the favor. What? Okay, now we got to scratch our head and try to figure shit out.
One thing I'm a little bit more invested in the Jey Uso thing now after what Gunther did to Jimmy. A little bit.
Yes, and no on that one. I mean, now it does kind of give Jay a reason to, really want to bring the true A game to Gunther. But how many times have we already seen Jay and Gunther? We've seen it, 3 or 4 times already for the title?
Mm-hmm.
At some point, we got to move on. And I'm not saying that it was a bad thing to, put Jay in the main event and actually make him main event Jey Uso for WrestleMania. But I think as a singles competitor, Jay's ceiling is Intercontinental United States Champion, mid-card. Him and Jimmy have always done better as a tag team than they can as solos.
I still think to this day, Cena should have won the Rumble. So then when they would have had
I can get behind that, but then at the same time, they also still did have Elimination Chamber to pitch. So then it would have been, all right, who are we going to – they would have had to try to figure out somebody for Gunther then for Elimination Chamber. Which that probably wouldn't have been bad because then you could have opened up your possibilities. You could have had Damian Priest. You could have had Drew McIntyre in the match. Obviously, Jay. You could have put Jey Uso in that match.
Well, speaking of Gunther, some of these overseas matches that I've been watching on like the house shows, him and
He's,
Punk have been tearing it up together.
yeah. Not only that, but he overseas. He gets a lot. He gets a pop. He doesn't get booed as much.
No. And
I mean,
speaking of Gunther,
it doesn't help that they were doing it was a European tour and the man's Austrian or German. I think Austrian. So it makes perfect sense for him to be in that area and get nothing but cheers.
well, I don't know if you watched this or not, but I know on the channel A&E, me and Mel have been watching the LFG thing. Um,
I've seen highlights of it on like Facebook Reels, YouTube
mhm,
Reels, Shorts, TikToks. There's a couple of them that are really really good looking individuals.
mhm.
I know there was the one gal that was actually kind of really impressing the Undertaker, and in the comments section for that one, it was everybody just like, "What is this? A new Nyla Rose?"
Oh
She,
yeah, she's a gymnastics person, but what's weird is like she's so disproportionate. She's so like
yeah,
buff upper body, but then she's got like a really fat face and just kind of
yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
and that was why it. But I watched the highlights of her, like some quick highlights of her match, and it was actually a pretty good fucking match.
And you know what's interesting? That was her first match ever.
It Well, when you got guys training you, teaching you that Michelle McCool, because Mickey stepped away, The Undertaker, uh, you've got legends. I don't even remember off the top of my head all the different trainers.
You have Booker's a coach, and
Yep.
Bully and Bubba Ray's a coach.
Okay, yeah, and I think she was working with Bully or Bubba.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but yeah, you've got legends in the business, literally, that are trying to help build new talent. And I'm sure Booker is doing all this while still trying to, make appearances for his school down in Texas.
So, well, let me ask you though, PK, what was your first reaction when you saw Cena turn heel?
I liked it. I didn't think we'd ever get that. I think we were getting that a little too late.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it makes sense for storytelling and just to help, build up some of the other talent, because Cody's not going to be around forever either. So, but you can go.
I think what fans are mad about is the fact you had Cena side with The Rock,
Yeah,
but we had no interaction with The Rock during this whole thing. Um, people are wondering, is The Rock going to show up at WrestleMania? Is it one of
or,
those things?
or is all this just another fucking ruse? Like apparently Cena's been doing to just kind of play mind games with Cody and the crowd. Like, is this like a 1 month, 1.5, 2 month heel turn? He wins, and then he's going to go back to being the baby face because he's going to win the belt and then almost immediately drop it back or something, just so that he can say, "I got my 17th title. I beat Ric Flair's record." If that's what they want him to do. I know Flair's openly said he wouldn't mind if it was Cena.
Well, I think Charlotte said that she wants to break Cena's record for the women's title, and she's at 15 right now.
Well,
So.
that's another one that's belongs on that overrated. She's decent in the ring, but she's not. She's got the belt as many times as she has because of her dad, not because of her.
I agree with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll die on that hill.
I'll tell you a feud that I've actually been looking forward to it's this Naomi heel turn with her and Jade has been really interesting.
That one's been interesting, and I'm kind of curious to see where they're going to go at with Bianca for it. If she's going to end up fighting
I still believe
Jade,
Bianca was behind it too.
there's a part of me that thinks it was a mixture of Naomi and Bianca, but only time's going to tell to see what TKO and WWE do for that one. I can't wait to see them have Jordynne Grace come up to the main roster.
Did you see what she did with throwing that one?
Oh my god, that dude cashed in some frequent flyer miles.
Yes,
That
he
was
did.
almost like watching the tag team stuff with Strowman and Ricochet. When he launches Ricochet out, Ricochet does the whole little cross thing, and then he just gets launched by a guy like 2 foot and 300 pounds heavier than him.
So what's been your? I mean, me and you know Penta very well. We've seen him on Lucha Underground. We've seen him in TNA, AEW. But how do you think he's been used in WWE so far?
I actually think WWE has been doing pretty damn good with him. They're still he still has some moments where he makes mistakes, but they all do because we're all human. You can't take the human error out of humans.
No.
Period. I like that they're keeping him on Raw and they're going to have Ray on SmackDown, so we don't immediately just have to have Lucha Bros, and that's all that we're going to get out of them. Because I would like to see them do their own things. They've earned the ability to. They did it in Lucha. They just because AEW wanted the actual legitimate brothers to pretty much be Hardy Boys, doesn't mean they need to be Hardy Boys.
Do you think Aleister Black should be on SmackDown, or do you think he should be on Raw? Because some people think he should be the leader of Judgment Day.
I don't know. Honestly, for that one, it would be kind of hard pressed because I don't really want to see him in that role. But at the same time, I do want to kind of see him away from his wife.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to worry about, oh, we're having issues with what's going on here? We're having issues with, favoritism and nepotism and all that shit.
I like the fact we were talking about the Cena Cody promo, the last one. One thing I liked what Cena said to him, he said, "You're a Neptune baby."
Yeah.
That you're such a sociopath that you basically tattooed your symbol on you.
Yeah, tattooed your gimmick on your neck.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, I know that Triple H said that he talked to Cena about turning heel, and it was Cena's idea. Could you imagine if we would have gotten this in 2012, like he said, when he wrote a new song and everything else, and he would have been heel during that whole feud with The Rock?
With how that was going, though, they were trying to make keep The Rock as the heel for that one, and just a heel versus heel match is a hard sell. Because at the time, he was still, Cena was still the face of the company. Even though The Rock can go away for 10 years and come back, because even at this point, even with the heel turn, Cena's still doing the Make-A-Wish stuff and all that. Although I still think that WWE's dropping the ball with instead of having, they could have the Break-A-Wish Foundation, as a little heel faction thing, just to kind of give him some more heat. So,
I kind of wish that Cena would change his gimmick around for the heel thing, like be more, have a different theme and be different. But
I mean, I do like the promo that he cut though with that. Like, you get nothing because you deserve nothing. Like, It's almost like it's that he turned heel because he got to the end of everybody's bullshit.
I wish that the American crowds were as lively as these European crowds are.
I feel like American crowds are slowly turning into like how the Japanese crowds are. Japanese crowds, they're not as loud as everybody else. They get invested into it, but especially in older days, like in '80s, early '90s, they don't pop and boo for certain heats and certain spots. Like if it's a really really big spot and it's not a spot fest, like as much as I hate to say it because I grew up with these, any kind of a luchador match or AEW, because it's and I don't say that to be degrading to the lucha guys, any of them. Uh, that's the lucha gimmick, and when you got two guys that have chemistry, like WCW Rey Mysterio had with a lot of them,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It is literally poetry in motion. The spots make it look like they mean something. They sell it more. It's not just, you know, top rope Hurricane Rana, go up to the next one, the guy pops up, Spanish Fly, hop back up, 450, hop back up, hit a moonsault kind of thing. It just everything still flowed. It wasn't a complete just let's get all of our shit in 30 seconds and then make everybody say ooh and ah and then be dead for the rest of the day. Japanese crowds would, oh, that, yeah, good, thumbs up, cheer at the end of it. They treat it still with respect and as a sport, not a spectacle.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think the American crowds are slowly turning into that while still treating it as a spectacle. And while I do think they treat it as a spectacle and a sport in the European crowds, they cheer like it's the spectacle versus the sport.
I still hope before me and you hit the dirt, which I think will happen before we get too old and die and all that, but I really would love to see WrestleMania in England.
I think that would be a good show. Either that,
Mm-hmm.
have WrestleMania at Wembley, have WrestleMania at the Tokyo Dome. Because I mean, if we're gonna go big, let's go big for the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe try a show like they have the NFL stadium down there, and I think it may have been soccer stadium where they had Green Bay and Philadelphia play. The Eagles play to open up, the past season for Green Bay for the NFL down in what is it, Sao Paulo? I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just places like have them play. Find a way. This one I don't think is actually going to happen because it's a historical monument. Find a way to put a ring in the Colosseum in Rome. I mean, even if that's just one where you just have all production, you'd have a way to at least make a show interesting. Because what better way to make it look like everybody's gladiators by arguably the most famous gladiatorial arena in the planet?
Man, if there was a wrestling show happening at the Roman Coliseum, even I would be like, you know what? I'm dusting off my boots. I'm doing this.
That one, you might be able to justify a $10,000 price tag for the ticket.
Yeah,
it's the Roman Coliseum, for Christ's sake.
I mean, I would love to see it. I think Japan and UK are definitely areas.
Those have got to be the two that would be the best options. Wembley, for its obvious reason, is one of the most famous stadiums on the planet, too. And then the Tokyo Dome is Japan's Madison Square Garden. Because I don't even consider Madison Square Garden the mecca for wrestling or for sport. I would give that one actually to the Tokyo Dome. I'd say that the Madison Square Garden is the mecca for American wrestling. But
there's been so much great matches that have been in the Tokyo Dome.
Exactly.
and it would be a good thing, and Japan would definitely market it very well. And what I think what I'm tired of seeing is I'm tired of seeing WrestleMania go back to places. I want to see them do more newer areas. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know that
Come back because they've been to Chicago, I think, twice. Come back to Chicago again. Instead of maybe having it at the Allstate, have it at the United Center where you've got more seats.
or you could do it, or you could do it where the Bears are at.
Do it at Soldier Field. Hell,
Yeah.
Soldier Field's going to be open soon because they're supposedly Chicago's going to be looking at a new stadium. They're going to need something for that one.
I mean, I know that the Titans are getting a new stadium, so I know Nashville will probably be in the running to try to get one. I mean, we've had a SummerSlam here, which was good, but there's some. I mean, I wouldn't mind having a WrestleMania here, but that's just.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to see.
I mean, I got a friend who's living in Vegas who's taking his 6-year-old son to WrestleMania, and I'm like, man, your son's gonna remember that.
Yeah.
That's just.
At 6 years old, he certainly will.
He's gonna remember his first ever WrestleMania, and he gets to brag to all the other kids, like, look what I did! I got to go to WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, let me ask you though, what if the favor Punk's got is him getting in that title match with Punk with Cena and Cody?
I honestly think that might be a possibility. Somebody else had made a mention of it on another podcast that I had seen the other night.
Yeah,
that night one has been tied into night two of some way, shape, or form the last few years. I know, obviously, last year we had Cody and Seth against Rock and Roman, and then Rock interfered, Seth interfered with Cody against Roman on night two. I can't remember so much the year before that. And I think the only reason I remember last year so well is just because there was so much, that interfered. There was so much of a build for Cody and Roman. Actually, I think Cody and Roman was the year before that, too.
I wonder though, since they're in Vegas, you think Stone Cold will get involved?
Supposedly he was supposed to be there last year, but they couldn't come to an agreement on a number for cash.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, I think it's a little bit closer. I don't remember where they were last year off the top of my head.
They were in Philadelphia.
Okay, they were in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
it might be easier for Stone Cold. They might be able to work out a better number. I know Stone Cold has said he would come out of retirement for the right price to help out. So,
honestly, I have an idea for SummerSlam, and some people thought I was crazy about this, but I was like, why don't you have Cena versus Rock, Cena and Rock versus Cody and Stone Cold?
I think a lot of that also would have to worry about the overall health.
Yeah.
I know Rock with being on the board, he still does a lot of stuff for his movies. Cena's on the go home tour, but he's still got his Hollywood career to look at. And then Stone Cold just, he hasn't had the boots really dusted off for about 10 years, give or take.
And he just had knee replacement like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So,
and he was on borrowed time when he was still, for the most part, healthy because of his neck. I don't know if I would want that one because they kind of made the Owens-Austin match. Yeah. There was no real build for that one there. There wasn't anything. Everybody popped for Stone Cold because it's Austin. But it showed that Austin's been away from the ring.
You know where I looked at that promo on SmackDown last week with Cody and Randy Orton. I think this is kind of wild to say, but Kevin Nash mentioned something about this too on his podcast. But what if Randy Orton turned heel and sided with The Rock and John Cena? And that,
I mean, I could kind of follow that one, but at the same time, I think it would also be a hard press one because it is arguable that Randy does his better work as the heel versus babyface. When Randy has played the heel, he has made it to where you want to hate the guy. Babyface Randy doesn't have the same kind of spotlight, in my opinion, that heel Randy has and has the ability to draw. Kind of like Macho Man. Macho Man in the 80s, 90s, he was better as the heel than he is as a babyface.
the one thing I really think that WWE can dive into this, and maybe next year's WrestleMania, I don't know, maybe SummerSlam, I don't know, but depends on how long. If Cena wins the title, depends on how long you have it on him. But I would love to see a Randy Orton Cody Rhodes program.
That would be a good one. I think that would be actually really good.
There's a lot of history there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can build up to it, bringing back stuff with legacy.
Bring back Ted DiBiase Jr.
And if he's not in prison, or if he's
I think what happens is, I think if Cena wins the title at WrestleMania, Cena is already going to be wrestling at Backlash. I think Cody gets the belt back at Backlash.
Yeah. Like I said, even if it becomes just one of those transitional things where Cena wins the belt from Cody just to break that record, and that's all that happens off of it. It serves its purpose.
I saw a podcast recently where they think the reason why Cena is retiring is not because of his Hollywood career, but the last couple matches he's been in, if you see the way Cena stands, it looks like he's arched himself, like his back is really.
It's possible his back. He may have problems with his back at this point. He might have health issues.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't carry a company for that long and not have a problem with your body afterwards.
No. Well, he's definitely got a bald issue.
Yeah, but he makes that known that he's losing it. So at least it's not one of those that he's got the bandana with the sewed-on wig baseball cap bullshit like Hollywood Hogan does. Like, dude, we know you're losing it already there, Hogan, so you might as well not, don't insult our intelligence.
The one thing I will agree with Bret Hart on too when I saw that interview is that he said that a lot of the guys now wrestle more his and Sean's style than they do like Hogan and Warriors now. And
yeah,
that's fair.
That one's obvious at this point.
Yes.
And it seems like also along with that is when they try to call stuff in the ring, it's not because they're not in a rest hold when they do it. It's like a double down and out, like the ref is talking to them, doing the count. It's not
right.
And I'm not saying that makes the 80s or the 90s better. When you've got the 30, 40 second sleeper hold and they're talking to each other, because that really slows down a match. It works good for, the moment for the communication, but it's honestly, that's probably one of the reasons why I don't put, my number one favorite title match of all time is WrestleMania, the 60-minute Iron Man match with Shawn and Bret. Sure, it went to overtime, but a lot of that match is filled with like slow down rest holds, submissions. So it wasn't like watching a a 30, 40-minute the Kurt Angle Shawn match where they were more moving the whole time because Kurt just has that better conditioning. It's something that Kurt could physically do compared to Bret. And it was also on national television. It wasn't on pay-per-view.
What do you think about Chad Gable? Do you think he's
severely underrated? I think he is this generation's Kurt.
Yep.
He has the pure. I don't like how they do American Alpha or American Made. Sorry, not American Alpha.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like they're trying to go for Team Angle 2.0 with Ivy Nile in there too. So they've got the token female in there.
So how would you feel if Kurt Angle came out of? Oh, what would you feel if Kurt Angle was Chad Gable's manager?
Are we keeping Chad as a heel, or are we going to turn him babyface? Because Kurt, at this point, I don't think people are really going to ever boo Kurt again. He doesn't do the same stuff that he did when he was a heel wrestler. Now he's had that ability to go away, and people will cheer him because of the nostalgia.
I agree with you, Chad.
Kind of like how if you watch some of the indie shows when JBL shows up, even though he was one of the bigger heels for modern era WWE, people cheer when he gives the heel or somebody a clothesline from hell. So it's people want to cheer the legends that don't show up every week, or even if they're, the manager.
I think that's what's happened with Cena before he turned heel. Is he was getting those cheers because of Nostalgia Act, because he wasn't around as much then.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was, and that's why they had him play the babyface against Austin Theory, where he buried Theory. When it goes back to the promo, he doesn't bury talent; he buries mediocrity. Well, ever since then, what the hell's really been going on with Austin Theory's career? Which sucks because I think he was one of the few, him and Grayson Waller, I think are some pretty damn good athletes. And
yeah,
now they're kind of floundering around the mid-card, lower mid-card on top of that. They've been turned into just a joke.
I believe that if you look at the shows, SmackDown's got a better tag, but they have a better tag thing than Raw does.
Yeah,
obviously. And SmackDown's killing it with the tag team, and I love a good old tag team division. I think it's one of the most underrated divisions we have in wrestling.
Agreed. I think we also need to get rid of the 39 or 40 different freaking titles.
Yeah.
You've got a diverse enough roster. You don't need. I don't have a problem with the women's mid-card title. Okay. You don't need two of them. We don't need two women's titles. Hell, we don't even need the world heavyweight title and the WWE undisputed because realistically, Roman unified those. He held both of them at the same time. So why the hell do we have two of them still? In the mid-card titles, you can either call it, you keep the Intercontinental and get rid of the U.S. because Intercontinental makes more sense because there's more than one continent. And get rid of the U.S. title and get rid of the women's U.S. title and unify the tag team titles again because you don't have very many, established set tag teams besides that you got the War Raiders. The Usos don't really tag team as a team anymore, so you can't really count them. You got the New Day. You got the Brutus brothers or whatever, Creed brothers, not
Creed brothers, yeah.
Brutus is the one brother. But off the top of my head, those are the only three legitimate, not put together tag teams that I can think of off the top of my head. Pretty Deadly.
And you look on SmackDown, you got Street Profits, you got Pretty Deadly, you got the Motor City Machine Guns. You have
Oh shit, yeah, I forgot about MCM.
so the SmackDown. I think this tag title should definitely be unified.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got this many titles, it's getting to a point to where, and I know WWE is not even the one that has the most. I know NWA has like 60. It's ridiculous. It takes away from the illustrious purpose of having a championship. If you've got somebody who's got, you're supposed to be the number one person in the company, but you've got somebody that holds a title that's almost of equal standing right next to you, as like in case in point, Cody and Gunther. Does that take away from either man's star power? It shouldn't, but to a degree, it still does, because what's the point of being called the undisputed champion when you can look across the way and on the same show watch a guy lift the world heavyweight title up above his head? What? Like, so who's the better man?
You know what they could do is if they got rid of the U.S. title. If you want an undercard title under the Intercontinental title, you can do the European Championship.
I honestly think for the underneath card, that's what they were trying before it became a giant clusterfuck. That's what they were trying to do with the 24/7 title. It was just all it was the 24/7 rule without the hardcore rules for hardcore matches.
Yep.
But then it turned into a complete and utter farce. And the only thing that was really a saving grace for making it seem like it had any kind of, traction was R-Truth, who himself is just a freaking national treasure at this point.
You know what I was hoping? I was hoping R-Truth would have interrupted Cena.
Oh my God, that would have been great.
And then Cena would have beat the shit out of him, and then
that would have sucked, though. I know you brought this up earlier about Aleister Black, that people think that he should leave Judgment Day. I'm wondering if what they're going to do, because that whole Wyatt Six thing is already kind of unentwining itself. I think Bo is the only one still on SmackDown, or no, he's the only one still on Monday Night Raw. Everybody else went to SmackDown. And some of the reports, dirt sheet stuff I've been reading is that they're thinking about putting Aleister in charge of all of them, or having him and Alexa be the ones calling the shots. Yeah, I don't know.
Because Bo's been dealing with some kind of injury of some sort. And
well, unfortunately, then that thing started out hot. Obviously, because everybody wanted the tribute to Bret because he had passed. But it's almost like we didn't really think about, what's going to happen when more and more people just kind of stop mourning Bret as much. It's eventually those fireflies were going to start to flicker out. So now we're going back to, having Rowan. We're going to have Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy. These guys are going to be, what are we going to do with these guys? Because eventually we're going to have to find a new gimmick for them too.
I mean, yeah, you're definitely going to have to find a gimmick. And if you've seen Aleister Black in AEW, he can handle a stable. He's proven that.
Oh, yeah. With the House of Black, you definitely can.
I'm wondering how long it's going to take before Buddy Murphy comes back to WWE. I think that's probably another guy that
I think that one might be a bit. I think, Tony might try to hold on to him. Not because he sees money in it, but I think it's going to be kind of one of those. It'd be almost like a fuck you to WWE and TKO.
So let me ask you, what do you think about the Hall of Fame now having matches being put in there?
It was kind of. I figure it was kind of a matter of time before that happened. I don't. What's the one that they're inducting? Is it the WrestleMania 10 or was it 13?
13.
Okay, so it was Austin Bret.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a good one to kind of start it out with for that. That match was, it's what started. It wasn't the start, but it was what really kind of cemented everybody to start liking Austin. He didn't tap out. Hart started getting sick of the American crowds, and it gave us that double turn, which hardly ever happens in a wrestling match, in a wrestling promotion.
What I think is really cool is that now Demolition has signed a Legends deal with WWE. And I think it's a matter of time before you see them in the Hall of Fame, probably next year. But, I mean, it's about time with Lex Luger. Lex deserved it.
I think the only reason why Lex hadn't gotten him before that is because of all the bullshit with McMahon.
Yeah.
Him and McMahon kind of had the falling out, and it led to that shit.
And I will say this, and I think I'm not surprised that he wants Sting to induct him. I hope that Tony Khan does the right thing and lets him do it.
It would be nice because this goes beyond more than just wrestling at this point. These two guys have been, I don't want to say lifelong friends, but they've been friends for at least 30 years, if not longer. There's no reason why, Lex shouldn't be allowed to have that honor.
Well, some people think it could be because WWE wouldn't let Luger and DDP be on TV with Sting's last match, and Tony Khan could be looking at that as like, well, you guys didn't do that, so why should I do this?
Yeah, but there's a difference. What Tony needs to understand is there's a difference between, putting them on a TV for a pay-per-view for somebody's last match.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were still there. They were allowed to be in attendance.
Yeah.
He just didn't want them on the TV. No, you can't put them on the TV. And it's not even that, anything to do with the Legends deal, because I think DDP is still shown up on AEW television while being on his Legends contract. I can't remember if it had lapsed and that was when that happened or what. But I know DDP has been on television for them because I believe he wrestled a match for them.
So I don't know if you heard, but Sting's doing his last tour. We're going to conventions and signing autographs. So everybody, if you have never met Sting, this is your last year. This year's your last year.
Last hurrah.
Last hurrah to talk to him or see him. So
I had an opportunity a while back at when Comic-Con was still in Chicago before they changed the name of it. But I couldn't justify the $350, I think it was, just for an autograph fee.
Yeah.
And that was, 10 years ago, roughly, 10, 12 years ago. So money still is a lot scarcer then. All right. Heartburn.
I mean, speaking of superstars and people signing autographs and stuff, I do know that Hogan is going to be opening up a wrestling shop in Tennessee, which is 3 hours from us in Gatlinburg. And people have asked me if I met him yet because of the whole Hulk Hogan beer thing. He hasn't come to Tennessee yet. So
as far as I know, he hasn't come to this area either. Childhood me probably would have wanted to say, yeah, let's meet Hogan. Adult me,
what I want him to do, what I really want to do is I want to get him to sign something that says that doesn't work for me, brother. So, this would be like, hey, just sign that as it doesn't work for me, brother.
Make a sign or a t-shirt that says I don't. Contract and then big fine print at the end of it. That doesn't work for me. Sign, please.
You know, Undertaker mocked him recently. Him and Kane were looking back at their match, and when he did when Kane did the tombstone to him, like Undertaker's like, "Oh no, you got me, brother."
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, I love that. They had me dying. Excuse me one moment. I'm going to grab something to drink really quick.
Right. Well, as he comes back, I'll keep this going. It's just let me know in the comments below, guys, what you guys are going to be thinking about WrestleMania 41. But you know, I think if there was ever a chance of, I think I should know. You know, if they ever do WrestleMania in England, I think that the pre-show match should be PK Valor versus Superstar Michaels. But I mean, I that's what I think. But you know,
that bitch has been ducking me for months.
Yeah, he's been ducking you. He's afraid of that ankle lock. That's what he's afraid of.
Well, that Southern Cross doesn't feel very great though, too.
No, it doesn't.
But
I mean,
now he's trying to be a gentleman instead of a ladies' man.
Well, if you get an ankle, everybody knows PK's got that ankle lock. He gets it on you. That's
all she wrote. PK don't play.
Mm-mm. I mean, one thing I've been wanting to learn how to do more now is the claw.
Well, if you got the big ass hand to do it, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't have the huge ass hand to do it. I mean, I can do it to my kids because they got littler heads and they laugh. They think it's funny.
Oh, I used to do it to my nieces and nephews. I would like do the claw thing, and my brother would go over there to his kids and do the Andre headbutt. Like, but they find it funny though.
My claw thing was usually like Fletcher from the movie Liar Liar.
Oh yeah,
like, claw right into the stomach and start tickling the kids. Can't do it to my teenager now. Now I risk catching a felony. Even though my daughter she knows Dad still loves her. Dad's not about to catch a case for playing around.
You know, do you think we'll see Bret Baker or Saraya in WWE?
Saraya, whatever, Paige. I don't know. Bret would be nice, but at the same time, realistically, she doesn't need to. Like, she's got her practice down there in Florida for her dental.
Mm-hmm.
If she didn't want to wrestle ever again, she's got a career.
She's set. Yep.
That's made. Yeah, and it's still a medical one that, you know, it's not stressful. Like, she doesn't have to go in every day and perform surgery on somebody. Because I think realistically, I don't even think dental, you know, I don't think they really do it. I think when it comes to like wisdom teeth and stuff, they still have you go to an actual hospital to have them surgically taken out. I don't think they just, oh, hey, I went to the dentist. We're going to have them, you know, shave away 8 inches of your jaw to get your tooth out. I don't think those kind of facilities still carry that equipment. So only way I see Britt Baker going to WWE from AEW is because she wants to. You know, I don't think there's any amount of money that WWE can actually offer her that would be life-changing money for her.
You know what I'm hoping for the Hall of Fame? I'm hoping that all this work that DDP's doing with Lex, that Lex is able to stand.
He's been taking. I think they put it on TikTok and stuff, but he's taken steps.
Yeah,
He's gotten out of his chair. He doesn't need the wheelchair. Like he probably still has a ways to go, but I mean, yeah, it would be amazing. I would probably have a heart attack myself if I saw him walk that stage instead of wheel across that stage just and then get out of it.
And kudos,
if he came out of the side,
yeah,
behind the curtain, whatever, walking the whole way, even if he had a walking like a cane or a walker, I think more people would just, not that we don't believe already in what DDP can do. I mean, there's been thousands of testimonials for the things that Dallas has done for people, whether it be celebrities or just the average guy like us. The first one that I ever saw was the Air Force guy that was like 380 pounds or whatever. Yeah. He had the hand crutches, and then you see him like a year later. And that was the first ever testimonial. And it's like, holy shit, like this might actually be on to something.
Well, I could tell you this much, that I do some DDP yoga, and I will tell everybody this: it is no joke. When you get to my age, about 43, you definitely want to be a little bit more flexible. So, the DDP yoga works for me, especially when I'm at work and I'm on my feet for like 7 or 8 hours. Definitely got to have an advantage over the young pups. I mean, one thing I would love to see though is, and I don't know if anybody's watched it yet, but DDP's doing this thing. He's had Thunder Rosa on there, and he's had Bret on there, but DDP does this little challenge stuff with some of the wrestlers and celebrities.
I haven't, like, a lot of his stuff. Now I'm actually trying to go through my list here. I'm like, my recently watched stuff to see, like, when the last time I actually watched anything from DDP was. And it's been a freaking hot minute.
There's a podcast, everybody knows Undertaker's 6 Feet Under, when he has Jake and Paige on there together. And they talked about the story about how Jake left a 12-foot cobra in
lost the cobra in Paige's house.
And Paige was worried that the freaking cobra would have gotten inside the walls.
Yep.
I'm like, that's like the most friendliest thing to do. Leave a king cobra in your friend's house.
Yeah.
And just hope that it's
not only it's also the most random thing that your friend could leave in your house too. Like, don't get me wrong. I have, I've got Dimitri. I've got my red-tailed boa upstairs. I've had a handful of snakes. I want more eventually down the line. But I don't know if I could leave something that could, end my friend's life just left randomly.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would feel fully comfortable with that one.
I don't know. And the bad thing is Jake's scared of snakes.
Jake is scared to death of snakes. To me, that makes it just hilarious.
I remember him telling the story. And, you can always look it up on YouTube but there's a story about when Jake was feuding with Earthquake. Earthquake supposedly squashed Damien.
Oh yeah, the Quake burgers or whatever is what they were calling it.
Yeah,
they were grilling them, and I remember that angle because Bobby the Brain Heenan was eating one of the burgers or whatever, and they were cracking jokes about it. It's good snake, isn't it?
I mean,
honestly, that's a man that I think is long overdue. Him and Ottman, Fred, Typhoon, Shockmaster, Tugboat, whatever you want to call them. I think those are two men that, they deserve their place in the Hall of Fame too.
They do.
Not just as a team, but, I think Quake earns it on an individual level too. He hated it. Everybody knows. It's not a secret That man hated playing a heel because he loved kids so much that it broke his heart knowing, because obviously Hogan was the big name at the time and he was feuding with Hogan. Everybody hated him for that, and he would go back to the hotels and he'd cry because he hated being looked at as the bad guy.
There's two things in wrestling history when I was a kid that haunted me. One was Jake Roberts with that Cobra with Macho Man. Remember watching that on Saturday morning, and I'm like,
holy crap.
That is just creepy. And then the one when Taker had the Warrior inside that casket and they shut it, and everybody was trying to get Warrior out there, and Warrior looked like he just passed out, and then the whole urban legend that the Warrior died, and they replaced him with another one, and that's just
yeah. Well, I remember that. I don't think it was because of that part that urban legend started to come out. I think it was because after he left.
Yeah.
Was the urban legend, because I do remember hearing that one as a kid too. Because it wasn't Jim that was the Ultimate Warrior, like when he went to WCW. That's where it was a whole new guy too. Nope, it's the same guy, but now we're just going to legally change our name to Warrior.
Yeah, Bischoff said that segment on Nitro did not go as planned, and Warrior went like 20, 30 minutes over.
That sounds like Warrior.
But I mean,
you never listen to anybody.
The one guy who I feel like WWE or AEW should have as a booker, or at least in creative writing, or
don't dare say Vince Russo,
is Jake Roberts.
Okay. He was, because I think Cornette's talked about it. Flair might have too. A few guys might have. Jake, at once upon a time, was, I think, part of the creative team for WWE years ago. He just hated getting up super early because that was when he had his drug problems really bad. Or drugs and alcohol. So he
kudos to DDP for saving Jake and giving us still Jake Roberts. But the one thing I will agree with Jake on is that the art of the DDT is gone now. And it was such an effective move back then. Him and Raven both. It was such an effective move.
The Eden flow.
Now when you see it, when you see a DDT now, everybody's kicking out at 2.
It's a transitional. But I mean, at the same time, things do kind of, they need to evolve. Like if a random person puts on the figure 4, it's not so devastating. But Ric Flair does his whole like strut and everything, wraps them in it, and then all of a sudden now it's like, oh my god, this person's like literally fighting for his life. Anybody else does a super kick actually no, super kick is a different one. We're gonna go with the leg drop. There were people doing leg drops when Hogan was using that as his finish.
Yep.
Taker did it, but for some reason, when it was Hogan's, the atomic leg drop that Hulk Hogan did, it's a whole different ballgame. So to a degree, it is just kind of the evolution of the industry. But there are some things where I do think that it's starting to become ridiculous. Like I can understand, a spear maybe not being like a finishing move for somebody like Jey Uso or Jimmy. Braun Breaker with how the way he runs the ropes and then hits it. All right, you know what? I could see maybe that one being the guy's finish. But at the same time, what normal person is going to stand there and let somebody come off the ropes? 1, 2, 3, boom.
Speed.
That big of a head of steam before you get just drilled.
There's 2 spears in the years I've watched wrestling that I cringed. One was 2004 when Goldberg speared Nuncio. And then the one this year when Braun Breaker did with EO Speed.
Yeah.
That was just...
I show speed. And then he sold the hell out of it, too. Oh, my God, it hurt for weeks. But, I mean, now provided both of those men have played football. I'm not, not to knock Roman, because Roman played football, too.
Yeah.
But, like, Bill was... it was known before Bill became a wrestler. He played a defensive tackle or defensive end for the Atlanta Falcons.
And the Georgia Bulldogs. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't remember if Roman actually played pro ball or tried out for pro or if he stopped after college. I think he did for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Rock. And then both of them were just like, they were practice squad players, but they didn't make the final roster or something like that. And then I think he was drafted, but he didn't actually play. But I think Braun was on the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens, for a little bit. And I think that wasn't as defense, so I think he was a fullback. He was drafted as a fullback, which is still, a position on a football team that's meant to be a bruiser.
Speaking of Steiner's, Scott Steiner's son signed with WWE as well. On that little the eye program that they got.
I did not know about that, actually.
I
know that Scott was making jokes about, his nephew needs to pay him royalties for using all of his moves. But it was just a joking kind of thing because obviously it's family. So I wouldn't mind seeing Scott, Scott and Rick come out for one of his big, like if Breaker's going to, main event WrestleMania next year, build up to it and have the Steiner brothers have a reason to come out and cheer him. Not necessarily partake in the match.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're going to have one of them, if you're going to have somebody interfere, Rick can be the distraction, and then Big Papa Pump come in and hit, one of the fucking belly to bellies. If he can pull it off. I don't think he would have an issue, but he's notoriously gone on record of admitting that he still has a problem with his foot years after he had an injury with that left his foot kind of paralyzed. So, one of those that you want to make sure, you're going to put everybody in a position where nobody is going to risk their health too, just for a 5-second cameo spot.
I'm sure Scott can still do the Steiner recliner.
Oh, the recliner, no problem. He'd have no issue. I mean, it's an elevated camel clutch. The
one thing I would Chris Van Zant, who does interviews.
Chris Van Vliet.
Yeah, he did an interview with Big Papa Pump.
Maybe that's who it was that I was thinking about, where he was talking about his foot being paralyzed.
Yeah,
that interview.
Well, he said that he talked to Steiner said he talked to a math teacher who told him that his math problem was right. So I don't know. I mean, he still thinks to this day his math problem was right. I mean,
stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. We are not going down this road.
Poor Scott.
I will do the dad thing. I will shake the fucking finger. Stop it. No. I mean, chastising a child or a dog. We're not going through this shit today.
What we need to do is if the Steiner brothers ever sign in there and where you live at PK, you should go there and get a video record of you going like this to Steiner. Stop it.
No. I would too. Either that or I'll get one of, the math major buddies that I've got that's got a degree in mathematics and teaching, and I'll have them, you tell this motherfucker, no, it's wrong. I'll just record it. That way I'm not the one that gets the shit down.
We all know that he was wrong, but,
Yeah, tell him we're going to leave it at his dad.
Well, I wanted to ask you this. What do you think about some of the younger people on NXT, like as far as the girls, like Julia, Stephanie, and
I like Julia. I think Stephanie's pretty damn good too. Stephanie Vacur, whatever. I think she's also one of the few double champions that NXT has had, which is different for anybody who's going to watch this one, potentially watch it and go, well, what about Mandy Rose? There's a difference between double titles and unifications. Mandy Rose unified 2 titles. She didn't hold two. She didn't hold 2 at one time and defend both. That is what Stephanie Vacur does.
And she relinquished the women's North American
title.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Who else we got? I don't mind Sol Ruka. The only thing I don't like is the Soul Snatcher. It looks cool. It looks cool as hell. I like the way it looks. But the practicality of it, that is not a finishing maneuver that you can hit out of nowhere on everybody. Sure, you can hit an RKO out of nowhere, but she does the somersault. You have to set somebody up near the ropes or the turnbuckle, or
just don't do it with Samoa Joe, because he'll do the nope.
Chris Van Vliet had an interview about that part too, and apparently it started out as a gag, and then it turned into now people are requesting, do it against this guy, or that's what it turned into, and that's why he kept it. But let's see here. I'm trying to think of some other. It's been a hot minute since I've watched besides Jordan Grace. Also,
there's still Cora Jade. She's still on there.
Yeah, Roxanne's still on there, but I have the feeling she's going to be main roster bound really soon, probably after WrestleMania, because they had her in the
Elimination Chamber.
The Elimination Chamber for the women, because there were a lot of people that thought she was going to be the one to win that instead of Bianca.
I'm surprised that Jordan Grace went to NXT. I thought they would put her right on the main roster. I
thought the same thing, and maybe it's because they wanted to see where she was going to be at first, because sure, she, if anybody's going to be called mommy, if you're going to want to call anybody mommy because of just freakish brute strength, I don't think Rhea can hold that title. I think you got to give that one to Jordan. She went from the powerlifting body build to now she made it ripped.
Fake Mama Pump.
Yeah. Well, the difference is though she's not roided. She was like a power lifter before while she was doing the wrestling.
Yep.
So she at least worked for all that. Now she, instead of going for just how much she can lift, it's how much she can lift, how many times, how many reps versus how heavy.
And so I think Jordan Grace will be on the main roster.
I could see her winning, I could see her going toe to toe with people like Bianca, Jade, Rhea. And I could probably see her putting on a couple of good matches with the likes of them. I know this one's going to get me some hate from people, but I am kind of over the whole Rhea hype, the Bianca hype, definitely the Charlotte hype, mediocre on the Bayley, because I know Bayley's still kind of, helping build up some of the other ones.
Liv Morgan's done really well for herself.
No, I'm getting tired of that one too. I'm just glad that they ended the whole Rhea Liv angle, like finally.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like that one drug out a lot longer than it needed to. Because if one was hurt, the other was healthy. Then that one got healed, and then the other one got hurt for some reason. And it drug on far longer than it needed to.
So
and the thing about it is, there were people that wanted Liv to win the Elimination Chamber so we could have Liv versus Rhea again. It's like, no. No.
I think a lot of the fans wanted Alexa Bliss to win it.
I think they did too, which is what made her elimination. I got the fucking hiccups now. Made her elimination so just it came from out of left field. She finally came back from everything that's been going on with maternity leave and everything else. And if I'm not mistaken, that was pretty much like her first or second match back was Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if people could have necessarily been like, yeah, if she wouldn't have won it, it would have at least been, between her and Bianca or her and somebody else, her and Liv.
I still say to this day, PK, that the idea of me and you and when we were with Taylor's group, I still think me and you and with
W.
can't think of her name at the moment, but her son.
Oh,
Becky.
Raiden.
Becky.
You're talking about Raiden.
I think
it's Raiden.
I think we could have been better than the NWO. That's just my opinion.
Oh yeah, I can get behind that one. No problem.
Did you see the skit on Raw when Braun was teaming with Penta? They did a Monteverdi version of the Bulldog that the Steiners did.
Yeah, I did see that, and I liked it. I think that's actually a really good tag team together. But again, those are both guys that I want to see, specifically Penta. I want to see what he can do with the singles run that they're letting him have, because he's obviously had a little bit longer to kind of get himself settled in with WWE versus Ray, who's just made his debut, a week ago, or is making his debut tonight. I think he debuted last week. So,
let me ask you something. Do you see any similarities in Seth and Punk's feud with Bret and Shawn?
I see some, but I think honestly, because for the longest time, Shawn and Bret just made it look like they genuinely disliked each other. I think behind the scenes, I do actually think that, Seth and Punk don't like each other.
Yeah.
Or at least it's a one-sided. It could be a complete one-sided thing, and Seth is just living, or Punk is just living rent-free in Seth's head. And they do whatever they can to, keep them apart from each other until it becomes professional time. But
the last couple of outfits I saw Seth wore, especially at the Elimination Chamber, he looked like Ivan Ooze with that one, that purple.
Yeah.
And then he wore that red one on SmackDown where it looked like it was inflated.
Yeah, I saw that one too. I saw pictures of that one. Well, I never thought I'd say this, but I miss Architect Seth.
I do too. Mm-hmm.
That heel version of Seth is some of the best work I think he's done. Better than, the Monday Night Messiah. Whatever it is that he goes, Seth freaking Rollins, or they dropped the freaking, so now it's just Seth Rollins again. But just the looking like week to week, he's raided Liberace's closet from the grave. Just,
I mean,
and that's an insult to Liberace, because Liberace wasn't even that goddamn flamboyant with his clothes.
Not even Michael Jackson was, and that says a lot.
Well, I say Liberace because he was actually really closeted for his homosexuality. Yeah. That's why I say when people finally learned about it for Liberace, it was one of those just mind-blowing things. But, or I guess I could have said Elton John's.
Yeah,
he looks like he's raided, Elton John's wardrobe in the dark with Stevie Wonder picking the clothes.
It looked like he might have raided Lady Gaga's outfit too. I mean, I'm just saying.
If he comes out at WrestleMania wearing a meat suit, then I'm going to be inclined to agree with you.
I mean, it looked like Seth shops in Becky's
Becky, I'm gleeking everywhere. Becky dresses more masculine than Seth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. But I will tell everybody that the next time that you will see me and PK on here is the NFL draft is coming up.
Yeah.
Um, After the the night of the NFL draft, me and him will be getting on here, and we'll be discussing the picks that all these teams have made and whether they fit the system of what the picks were, and
who could have been possibly a better pick, what
yeah,
teams should have potentially, gone for their options, draft up, draft back, or trade up, trade back. Sorry. But I'm just as interested in that one for what's going to come for that as I am for WrestleMania. Because I think the draft is WrestleMania weekend.
Yep.
In Green Bay, Wisconsin, home of my Green Bay Packers. I ain't even going to shy away from that one. I don't care how much hate that gives me.
Have you ever been to Lambeau Field?
Once.
Melissa's dad's been
5-hour drive. That's the only reason why it's only been that much.
Melissa's dad was from there, and he's been there a few times. He said it's nothing like being there.
There's one, I know this is completely off tangent, but I saw a list because I've made comments on it for different stuff. They ranked the top 100 or top 50. I can't remember what it was. Stadiums, fields, arenas, whatever for sports. Somehow the one with the smallest friggin' fan base, well, not smallest fan base, but because there's Packer fans worldwide, the smallest, I guess, demographic, Green Bay, Lambeau Field was ranked number 1. So, and that there's cities that have, 3 teams that play in the area. Lambeau just has the Packers. Chicago has the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and somehow, Soldier Field was way down there, and the United Center was way the hell down there. So the only thing that didn't get a fair shake was for the places that had NHL teams where they have a separate arena.
Yeah.
The NHL teams. So NHL is a great sport to watch, better than baseball and basketball, and arguably getting close to better than football because it's constant action. It's not down set, 10-minute commercial. It's 10 minutes of playtime. Oh, hey, we're going to commercial for 2 minutes. Now we're back for another half hour.
Did you hear the NFL is trying to get rid of that rule where the quarterback gets help crossing the goal line?
You mean the tush push?
The tush push.
Yeah. That one's going about 50-50, and I'll talk more about that probably in depth when we actually have that video. But I will say that I have seen a video where somebody kind of breaks it down with a little bit more logic.
Mm-hmm.
If the offense is allowed to do something that the defense isn't allowed to do, because defensive guys can't push people on special teams or on just regular plays. Everybody likes to say they can. No, the rule book specifically prohibits it. Hell, technically the offense isn't supposed to aid a run or two, but somehow with the tush push, they're able to get around it. It's not the same as a quarterback sneak, but at the same time, it kind of is a quarterback sneak. But if you're going to worry about player safety, which is one of the things that it seems like they're always preaching about, then from the look of player safety, yeah, the tush push needs to be banned. If you want to look at it as because people can't stop it, I know Green Bay's the one that tried to fall on the sword for that. Well, don't penalize the team because, they're able to perfect something better.
And in that video, too, we're going to talk about some of the new rules that they want to in place. And
because I know that the Detroit guys have been coming under a lot of fire too for what Detroit wants to do, or the rule that they changed. Base it off of your record instead of your your seeding instead of, the divisional stuff too.
I actually agree with that one.
I do, and I see both sides of that one, but we can talk about that one another time.
Yeah.
Too.
But before we go, because I know that apparently the storms are coming again. I didn't know they were coming this quickly, but
supposedly they're supposed to be here in a couple hours for me too, which is great because I got my family obligation stuff to go to at 5.
But do you think Cena wins at WrestleMania, or do you think Cody holds on?
I'm torn because I want to see Cena win it, but I can understand the reasoning why they would not put the belt on him. But at the same time, I can understand the logic and the reasoning that they would use to put the title on Cena. Because now, I don't know if it was Flair that said this or if somebody else has said this. Your top babyface is always going to be more over chasing the title than holding the title. Because you can have your top, because it was perfect with Sting and Flair in the 80s.
Yeah.
Or anybody in Flair. Flair could get beaten every one of the non-title matches. And then he'd find some way, some sneaky way to heel it, to hold on to the title when it mattered. But you could get a clean win on him on a non-title where the match basically doesn't mean shit. And it worked because it helped put asses in seats. Because it would have you coming back going, is this going to be the time that he loses it? Is this going to be the time that, in this case, is this going to be when Cody can overcome it? Even though Cody's already got the title, not Cena. But for the sake of the scenario, if Cena had the belt, can Cody finally beat Cena and get his belt back? Or can he beat him? Or is Cena going to cheat and somehow hold it?
I felt like...
And that was, to a degree, I feel like that was the good thing with Roman. But with Roman's, 3-year title reign, they leaned onto that shtick way too much. Because everybody already knows that Roman had the ability to beat people without Solo or the Usos. So, I mean, having them in, and now, of course, they've turned Solo into a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Which sucks because you build him to look like Umaga, and now he looks like, or Rusev. Now it's what Rusev came after he got into a match with Cena. It doesn't have the same sparkle and shine that it did. Now they're going to try to apparently do the same thing with Jacob Fatu. Well, if you're going to do that with Fatu, don't drop the ball on him. Have him be that one-man wrecking crew for a lot longer. Have people have to cheat to beat him. Make the babyface have to resort to a heel tactic.
I'm torn between the two. I do think that Cody needed this feud because Cody's title run was being stale.
It's been stale.
It's been stale for a while. I felt like
he needed after he finished the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's been nothing to keep you invested in the story.
Nope. Oh.
Because you close the chapter. Okay. And
but
it got old really fast. Of what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? When's your next fucking viable, threat to losing your belt? That's what I want to talk about.
I still think sometime down the road we're going to see Cody versus The Rock. I still think that's leading towards.
I wouldn't mind seeing that one. Somehow maybe The Rock screws Cena, and that leads to Cena, The Rock, and then down the line Cody comes out and screws The Rock, so that Cena can get his one more comeuppance over The Rock, and then it builds into The Rock and Cody. Now, is that how things are probably going to go? Doubt it, because I'm sure Rock has in his contract for WWE, just like with wrestling or with movies, I can't lose.
Well, I will say this though, I appreciate you.
God awful films like Black Adam.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I mean, I know that your schedule, my schedule's been kind of crazy and hectic.
Yeah, normally on moments like this, I'm usually sitting in the parking lot getting ready to head into the shop. Do the 9 to 5 shtick on nights. But we were able to get a couple of days here to where we could get together, link up, and we can make some magic for people.
Oh yeah, and plus we still got another video I'd like to talk about eventually is the whole Avengers Doomsday cast and all that other stuff that they've.
I'm gonna wait for them to finish casting that one out before I talk about that one.
Yeah, I think there's going to be more. People are already bitching about it, but I'm like, it's going to be more.
Yeah.
But I will tell everybody, like, share, and sub. Draft day, we'll be on here. We'll be.
Find my OnlyFans.
No, we'll be, yeah, we'll be on draft day. People are still asking me what I think the Titans are going to do, but I'm not going to answer that until.
I don't even know if the Titans know what they're going to do yet.
No, they don't.
Maybe they'll sign Aaron Rodgers if he doesn't go to the Steelers.
Yeah. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Anyway, though, anything you like to add, though, man?
I think the Jets are just a dumpster fire, and he's buddies with Robert Sally, whatever, however you say it. And that's why he wanted to go there too.
Yeah,
that turned into a mistake for all of them.
Is there anything you would like to add, man, before we go?
I'm joking about the OnlyFans. I don't have one. Don't look for it. Don't sub. Why pay for porn? There's plenty of sites you get it for free. I couldn't think of anything else besides that.
Yeah,
close your eyes and imagine. Imagine what Stevie Wonder goes through. He can't even see it.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's got those little like.
It's like Blinken from the movie. Goddamn, Robin Hood and Men in Tights. The friggin' Braille Playboy. There you go.
Such a good movie. Such an underrated. That's
underrated film. A lot of Mel Brooks movies are underrated gems.
Slapstick at its finest. But anyway, though, we pretty much are at the point of we're kind of torn between the Cena and Cody thing.
Yep.
I honestly would like to see Cena win it one more time and just solidify it.
Yeah. I'd like to see that. And then, you know what? Maybe that's how you build into that unification. Have him face Gunther. And have Gunther just destroy him like Brock did.
Yeah.
Make Gunther look like the credible threat. Like the real big credible threat.
Yep. And everybody, when the NFL draft comes, we'll be on here. I think it starts at 7. It's Central. So we'll be on here. We'll talk about each pick that it comes in, and we'll talk about that.
It's the week after WrestleMania, it looks like.
Yes.
Okay, so we got WrestleMania on the 19th and the 20th, I believe. The NFL draft is the 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Yep.
Maybe we mark it on the calendar. Maybe we talk about it on the 27th, that Sunday night.
Yeah.
I think then we got 24 hours after the draft to, everything come in and see what's going on and kind of do our homework a little bit for that night, day by day.
But anyways, though, thanks everybody. We'll see you guys coming up soon.
Peace,
PK,
love, and hope. Mr. Kev, Miss Mel, I know you're hiding somewhere around there. Probably playing Grand Theft Horse again.
No, she's playing Red Dead Assholes.
Same difference, Red Dead Horse or Grand Theft Horse. Did she just say fuck you? Or